Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming in, by the way. Appreciate you. Okay, do we have quorum? 1, 2, 3. Okay, in the meantime, Councillor Kirby, Young, and Meisner, Montague. Montague, if you can please turn on your camera so we can get quorum started. Oh, we have quorum now. We're good. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the special council meeting of Thursday, November the 13th, 2025. This special council meeting was called by council under sections 2.5B and 14.5 of the procedure bylaw for the purpose of considering the Housing Target Progress Report October the 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. This special council meeting is being convened by electronic means as authorized under Part 14 of the procedure bylaw. The City of Vancouver electronic meetings. As such, council members may participate in person or by electronic means. Any members joining electronically are reminded to enable video to confirm quorum. The meeting is being live streamed on the city's website and YouTube, and meeting progress will be updated regularly on X at Van City Clerk. I do want to acknowledge that we are hosting today's special council meeting on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and I do want to thank them for their generosity, their hospitality, and the love and care that they show this great land that we get to live, work, and play on. I also want to recognize the immense contributions of our team members at the City of Vancouver who are amazing and work hard every single day to make the city a better place. I do want to just give everyone a safety debrief once again, because I do think focusing on safety is paramount, and it may be repetitive, but that's an okay thing. In the event of emergency, if we can go walk through the glass sliding doors and left at the pillar and then make your way to the stairs, and exit accordingly, that would be great. If those doors are obstructed for any reason whatsoever, there are 4 doors on the side here, and await further instruction. We'll tell you how to exit this building. If anyone has any mobility challenges, just stay in place, and we will get one of our amazing and friendly team members to help you get to a safe place. We also have a defibrillator through the glass doors and at the end of the hallway if you need it. So with that, can we please have a roll call?
Mayor Sim in the chair. Councillor Kirby Young.
Present.
Councillor Dominato. Not present. Councillor Bly.
Present.
Councillor Fry is on a leave of absence for civic business from 9:30 a.m. onwards. Councillor Montague.
Present.
Councillor Klassen.
Present.
Councillor Meisner.
Present.
Councillor Joe. Councillor Orr. Councillor Maloney. This meeting has quorum, Mayor Sim.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, agenda. Item number 1, Housing Target Progress Report, October the 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. Does anybody on council have a conflict that they want to disclose? Seeing no one's hands up and no one in the queue, I think we're clear. This item does have a presentation, so we do have team members to present.
Okay, good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Edna Cho, Senior Planner in Housing Policy in Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability. I'm here to present on the 2nd Annual Provincial Housing Targets Order Progress Report, and we have staff here from PDS to answer any follow-up questions you may have. With this report, we are recommending that Council receive for information the Housing Targets Progress Report as contained in Appendix A, and to submit this report to the province by November 14th in order to comply with the requirements under the Provincial Housing Targets Order. So in this presentation, I'll go over the background and highlights of the Housing Targets Progress Report and conclude with some next steps. The requirements for the Housing Targets reports came in under the Provincial Housing Supply Act during the spring of 2023, which gave the province authority to set municipal targets, and Vancouver was one of the first 10 municipalities to receive a target order. The goal of the housing targets are to increase and speed up housing supply in areas of greatest need across the province. To date, 40 municipalities across BC have target orders. Vancouver also has its own housing targets for over a decade now, and in June of 2024, Council approved refreshed 10-year targets for 83,000 net new units, which are measured in approvals, along with a 3-year action plan to help us achieve both our own housing goals as well as to ensure enough capacity in the development pipeline to meet provincial housing targets. So the provincial housing target for Vancouver is set at 28,900 net new units over 5 years. The measurement is in completions. This number was based on meeting 75% of a housing needs assessment conducted by the province in order to meet the needs of existing and new projected households in this 5-year period. And the annual targets are cumulative. So as, sorry, here we go, just going back here. Sorry, as part of the legislative requirements, municipalities are required to submit regular progress reports, as shown in the chart on the left. And we're here today to report on progress after year 2. Reports must be received by council and submitted to the province within 45 days of the end of the reporting period, which is November 14th, tomorrow, for this report. If a municipality does not meet their target, the province may take certain actions, such as appointing an advisor to review and make recommendations, or require municipalities to change bylaws and issue specific permits. So it's an important reminder about what the targets are actually measuring. The provincial target orders are for the period between October 2023 to September 2028. The projects that will reach completions over these 5 years are ones that have already been approved years ago and are either in the process of construction or about to start construction. So these completions are counting approval decisions that were made 3 to 5 to 7 years ago. And based on that, just keep in mind that only a small portion of applications approved this year or over the next couple of years will become completions within this first 5-year provincial target order timeframe. All right, so how did we do after 2 years? So this year we reached 90% of the second year target with 4,845 net new units completed. This is a 17% increase over last year's completion numbers. Cumulatively, there were 9,000 net new units completed over a 2-year period, which is 85% of the cumulative target. We did observe in 2022 to early 2024 lower completions following a dip or decrease in construction starts during COVID. Since then, we've seen higher construction starts, including a spike in 2023, which are now starting to come to market and will sustain new completions over the next 1 to 3 years. In addition to the overall supply target, the province also provided guidance or soft targets for specific categories of housing, including unit size, tenure, and affordability level of rental units. In terms of unit sizes, 43% of new units had 2 or more bedrooms, surpassing the province's guidance of 40%. However, we achieved 16% 3 bedrooms out of the 22% provincial guidance, and this 3-bed guidance will be extremely difficult to achieve given current market conditions and the composition of the pipeline. In year 2, over 4,000 net new rental units were completed, including both primary and secondary rental. This represents 86% of the year 2 total, surpassing the province's guidance of 72%. So cumulatively, for the first 2 years, over 6,700 net new units were completed, which is 89% of the cumulative target. So this rental delivery is supported by strong policies enabling purpose-built rental across the city, which is reflected in our pipeline. In 2024, over 80% of our approvals were secured purpose-built rental and laneways, and that indicates that the shift towards primary rental will continue over the next few years. In terms of affordability, over the past year, 12% of the rental units completed will be affordable to incomes earning less than those at the housing income limits, HILS. This is significantly lower than the province's guidance for 38% of all rental units to be affordable to incomes earning less than HILS. While Vancouver has several programs targeting new private and non-market rental housing and almost 2,500 supportive social and co-op units under construction, delivering units below HILS will require significant additional and ongoing financial investment from senior governments. So that's a summary of how we did after year 2 of the targets. These upcoming slides are looking ahead at housing delivery over the next few years. So we did an analysis of the city's current development pipeline, which consists of approximately 78,000 units at different stages of application. Of these total in-stream projects, over 43,000 net new units are either approved or under construction. So within that, we expect 31,000 net new units will complete by the end of the housing targets order period, on top of the 9,000 that have already completed, which would exceed the total 5-year provincial target. This trend is confirmed by statistics from CMHC, who have reported high levels of starts over the past 2 years at 14,200. Rental delivery is the main driver, and Vancouver leads the region with over 9,000 units started since October 2023, or 45% of the region's rental starts. And these starts will result in higher completions in the next 1 to 3 years. After this wave of construction finishes, though, the pipeline is more uncertain due to significant headwinds challenging projects, especially those in earlier phases of development. So while cities control approvals and permitting, construction activity is largely influenced by external factors outside the city's control, with effects felt across the country, such as rising construction costs, labor challenges, difficulty accessing financing, trade instability, and slower population growth. These factors have resulted in a slowdown of pre-sale activity and a decline in new condominium projects. Rental developers are also signaling viability challenges for projects that are in earlier stages of their application. Additionally, with increased new supply coming to market, coupled with slower population growth, asking rents have started to fall in 2025, and condo prices have flatlined. This is good news in terms of affordability for both renters and owners, but can also make investments in new projects less attractive to developers and builders, which could impact housing delivery in future years after this first target order period. So this means sustaining construction activity and reaching our completions target will require coordinated efforts from all levels of government and various sectors of the economy. The province and federal government have recently launched a number of new programs to support housing delivery amidst these challenging market conditions. At the city, we are also working to support development viability, both in the short term and to enable more supply in the longer term. And these include streamlined permitting and zoning processes, new land use planning initiatives, as well as changes to mitigate current fiscal pressures. Council will be receiving a new development viability report shortly in December with a number of actions to support viability and continued housing delivery. So in summary, the city has achieved 90% of the year 2 target and 85% of the cumulative target, an increase from last year's results. A pipeline analysis shows that the city has capacity to meet the 5-year target as the current wave of development progresses over the next 1 to 3 years, which is supported by strong rental development activity. Over the long term, the outlook is more uncertain and dependent on a number of local, national, and international factors. The city will continue to collaborate closely with senior governments towards increased and sustained housing supply, as well as deeper levels of affordability. So thank you. That's the presentation, and we have staff available to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation and all the hard work that you guys have put into it. Yes, we do have questions. Councillor Kirby-Young. Oh, wait, before I say that, council members, just a reminder, 5 minutes to ask questions of team members. Councillor Kirby-Young.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to staff for a comprehensive presentation. I have a few questions that you touched on, but I want to just explore a little bit more. So the simple question around the report card, I guess overall you could say we're doing pretty well with the 3-year achievement of 80%, 90%, and 85%. I recognize that those are lagging indicators, like you said, because it relates to projects started 2 to 3 years ago. What happens, is there any, do we just sort of, you think we'll get sort of a nod for best efforts from the province, or there's nothing sort of punitive with respects to if a municipality is not meeting them? And again, recognizing that our performance, I think, is quite strong.
Yeah, so the targets are assessed based on the target itself as well as on our progress towards the target. So we would note that we have increased from last year, so 17% increase from last year's results. As well, in our report, we also include all of the number of initiatives that we are doing to continue to increase supply and to speed up supply. So all of that is in the report. So we're fairly confident that the province will be satisfied with this. They were last year.
Okay, great. I want to sort of jump into the family unit conundrum. It's interesting because the rental report was released today around sort of affirming what you said around tenure and people not being able to afford to buy homes, but particularly that sort of stark 16% on the 3-bedroom requirement. I'm wondering if staff are engaging in any dialogue with the province, because it really does come down to cost per square foot and economics, around any other means to support family units. There was some commentary in the media this morning around the potential for Vancouver becoming a childless city simply because families can't afford to live here. So it's one thing to have the targets that are aspirational, but the economics don't work. Does staff have any thoughts, or are we giving any thought to family-friendly policies or any dialogue with the province around how they might support that?
Yeah, for sure. In terms of the targets that we received in 2023, that was one of our major feedbacks to the province, that the 22% target that they set for us for 3 bedrooms was going to be extremely difficult to achieve. That number was based on the overall composition of 3 bedrooms in the city. So they just looked at the overall stock, which, you know, a lot of that is single-family houses, and added that, and that was based on the number. However, as we know, in Vancouver, the bulk of our new construction is in multifamily units, and that isn't the trend that we're seeing in terms of 3 bedrooms in those units. What we're seeing is about 16% 3 bedrooms in condos and about 9% in rental over the last 10 years or so. So in terms of family policies, we do have our 35% family policy at the city, of rezoning policy, and in some areas we have added those requirements under zoning as well. With initiatives such as the multiplex R1 initiative, we are seeing, in terms of that ownership stock, almost all of those units are coming in at more than 2 or 3 bedrooms. So that ownership stock will be targeted to families.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm just keeping going for time, but I think probably more dialogue to have with the province there on that one. I guess another quick question is, not our job necessarily to track, but do we have a sense of how Vancouver is doing compared to the other municipalities with respects to how we're doing in meeting our target orders relative to our neighbors?
For sure. It's across the board. It's different. Some municipalities are achieving their targets, and then there's a few that are not. Some of them are at the same level, like 85, 90%, and some of the ones in the region are significantly lower. I will say one thing, though, that Vancouver is incredibly unique in that we have the highest target order. There's no other municipality that's close. Surrey's number is high, but in terms of the ambitiousness of the provincial target, we do have the highest target. And one other thing I will say is that, in terms of our development, we are we are constantly redeveloping. So our gross numbers of completions are actually very high, but we have to net that out because the provincial targets are based on a net number.
How about the other most populous city, Surrey? Are they seem to be doing their part?
Yes, I believe they've met their target.
Okay, and last quick question is, obviously it's not the next couple of years you said, because it's a 2 to 3 year lag, it's the following 3 that we need to worry about. So is that where we're putting our time and attention again in reviewing our policies?
Absolutely. And we have a development viability report coming in December, which we're going to be looking at ways that we can help sustain supply in the short term.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Bly.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the presentation. I happened to be at a presentation with the housing minister this morning at ULA talking about provincial housing targets. So I don't know if we lined this up really well or they lined it up really well, but either way, good primer for this conversation with Councillor Lucy Maloney there as well. But I just wanted to talk about infrastructure and DCLs, because we've seen a lot of public commentary around the need for infrastructure or housing enabling infrastructure. And then also this year seeing Metro Vancouver as a regional district now collecting DCCs and how that's impacting housing starts that will eventually become housing completions. My take from the presentation, and then please correct me if I misinterpreted, is that staff are confident that we will meet the targets as years go on to 2028. So can you help me just understand what we're hearing on the ground right now in terms of applications are not penciling out, they're not getting the funding, the DCCs are limiting their ability to start projects with where we see ourselves landing in the next 2 years, meeting these targets?
Absolutely. So I think over the next couple of years, we're going to be really seeing projects already under construction complete. We have 15,000 units under construction currently. So, what we do know is that projects that are further along in their application are more secure because they've already gone through their approvals, they already have their financing secured. And once you've started construction, you're pretty confident that that's going to go ahead. So, so that's good news for us in terms of where we're at in terms of building permits. However, it is true that projects that are just entering the application phase or projects that are early on, they are feeling all of these different headwinds from multiple different factors. Yeah. And so what I will say about that is we do have an enormous amount of development in the pipeline. So even with an attrition of a significant percentage that doesn't move forward, we will still likely be able to meet our targets. Not that we want to see that attrition, but there is a huge amount of volume right now in the pipeline due to a lot of the policies that we've, land use changes and policies that have been approved over the last few years, projects coming through in that way.
Okay. That is interesting. And I guess year over year, we're going to be able to see how that number shifts. So when this report comes forward and we're filing, we'll know what happened this year and how that's impacting what's happening next year and the year after. Okay, I'll sort of take that away because one of the pieces that I heard the minister talk about today is the importance of continuing to have rents coming down as a result of new units coming online. Can you just share a little more about what we're seeing in that regard?
Of rents coming down. So in terms of the CMHC rental market survey, that's the most comprehensive report that there is on the rental market. That report was released last year, so the number's a little bit old, but comprehensively, what we are seeing is still an increase in rents, although at a slower rate. So, rents are going up in the overall stock, and it's also going up in the new rental
Sorry to
stock.
interrupt. Can I just clarify? So I've been hearing that rents are coming down and in around 10%.
Yeah, so let me get to
Yeah,
that. So but however, in terms of asking rents, some other data sources, which are not as comprehensive as the CMHC RMR, are showing that asking rents are going down. Yeah, upwards to 7%. Some reports say, a little bit higher than that. And so those are new market asking rents.
Okay. One last question. I'm just out of time almost here. Is what is our current vacancy rate?
1.6%.
And what is our goal?
3%.
And does that line up with the targets that have been set by the province?
Yes, it does. Their housing needs assessment included a one-time vacancy rate adjustment up to 3%.
Okay, thanks. It's my time.
Thank you very much, Councillor Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. So in terms of the funding from the senior level of government to help us for the affordability, so the province has this BC Bills program for support rental units. Do we know how many of those rental units actually apply those programs?
No, we don't have that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we want to take advantage of the existing programs there. Also, the federal government has the Canada Bills programs. So how do we encourage this developer to apply those programs to take advantage of the funding there?
I believe that most of the development industry are aware of the programs, and they are applying. It's just a matter of a lot of those programs are oversubscribed. There's a lot of demand for them, so lots of people are applying for them.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Other questions, the guideline by categories, that's just the guideline, it's not a target, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And for our own City of Vancouver housing target, 85,000 in 10 years, that's completion or that's approval?
That's approvals.
Okay, and do we have the approval by years number?
We don't have our approvals numbers we calculate because we have a different time frame. We do the calendar year, January 1st to December 31st, so we don't have this year's number done yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do we know if we are meeting our own target, this 85,000?
Yeah, this year, yes, we are. We are meeting our own targets.
Okay, so
We
that
met them last year, and I believe we are on track to meet them this year.
Yeah.
And even in terms of, what we have coming down the pipeline, in terms of what's expected to come to rezoning, we will meet our targets and exceed that next year.
Okay, so that's about 8,500 approval per year.
Yeah.
So we are only building 4,800 completion. So that means only 50%, roughly 50% approval got actually completed.
I think it's not linear like that because
Okay.
our approvals earlier on, like in the 2017, were lower. Your targets were 7,200 units, not the 83 that we just set it to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So about increasing construction cost, do we know how much was because of the tariff?
No, we don't have that information.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but absolutely, construction costs have increased, upwards to 70% since 2017. So a really significant increase.
Yeah. Looking at the index, it's up by 1.5 times, 150%.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's all my question. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Maloney.
Yeah, thanks very much. We have the highest target, but do you think that these targets accurately reflect demand from people living outside Vancouver who do work in Vancouver or would like to work in Vancouver, and from people living in involuntary shared housing situations like roommate situations, or people experiencing intimate partner violence, or people with 20-year-old children who absence would make the heart grow fonder?
Yeah, for sure. The province's housing needs assessment did take into account all those factors. It looked at extreme core need. It looked at household suppression, formation, adjustment of, looking at roommates and people like living together. It also gave us an affordability target in terms of affordability. So the housing needs did reflect, those factors. As well, for the anticipated need, it looked at a projected growth based on BC stats. So I think the needs did account for those things. One thing to note is that the target is based on meeting 75% of that need. So, it wasn't set to meet the full need. And the other thing I would just say is for the affordability guideline, which isn't a target, it's set at 8,000 units of households to be, at or below hills. We said from the beginning when we received our target that wouldn't be possible for municipalities to meet alone without significant additional funding and partnerships from senior governments.
Thanks, that's a very helpful answer. West Vancouver is less than 10 kilometres from where we're sitting right now. And I'm super frustrated about their overt lack of action to contribute to housing in our region when it's so accessible to the City of Vancouver. What work is being undertaken or tools do we have available to us to try and influence West Vancouver to pull its weight on housing in our region?
So I believe that they had the province did appoint an advisor. They met with them and gave them a report on things that they wanted to see and initiatives that they thought that they should undertake. So I think the province did that work to try to get them to increase their supply. Yeah.
Do you feel that there are avenues or tools that we as a council or that the mayor might be able to take to influence things, or is that not something that I should be asking you?
Hi, thanks, Dan Garrison, Director of Housing Policy and Regulation. I think one of the main things that we can do is support the process we're going through right now around setting provincial targets for municipal governments in British Columbia to try to meet. I think that that's the process through which places like West Vancouver that are not meeting their target, or some of the other municipalities, like there's a lot of talk about Oak Bay in Greater Victoria. This is the process that the level of government which actually has authority over these things, the provincial government, can exert influence through. So I think that us doing this work, supporting the process, is sort of the best thing we can do to influence others.
Thank you very much. How might a general upzone for low-rise apartment buildings help to create substantial amounts of affordable, family-friendly housing and more housing for seniors to move into that's all on one level and in their own communities?
I think moving towards a pre-zoning will help, of course, because that takes away it reduces the time that's required through the approvals process, and it increases certainty. So definitely, that's very helpful to meeting those supply targets, as well as it sets the requirements up front. So having the clarity, the speed is very helpful in terms of enabling that supply.
But also enabling low-rise apartment buildings in more areas of the city, that would also help?
Yes, yeah, and we are doing that through the neighborhood center, the Villages Planning Program, and that's coming forward next year in Q2.
And what can we do, and perhaps this is a question for Armin, what can we do to help support staff in being ready to take advantage of the opportunities of senior levels of government having funding for housing? I'm sorry, I'm
sorry,
out
we're
of
at
time,
time.
so someone might
That's
want to,
okay.
maybe I could ask.
Councillor Klassen?
Thanks, Mayor. So bringing it back home to Vancouver, in 2023, the city was placed on the province's so-called naughty list, but it looks like we've moved forward and risen to the challenge. Does Vancouver get a cookie from Victoria? Is there an incentive side to this equation that for the hard work that we've done?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Thank you for that. I mean, we had been thinking about it very much from the other side, Councillor, the naughty list side and how well we're doing in reference to these targets. Obviously, I don't think there's any clear line between the housing target order, how we're doing in response to it, and things like, say, funding for infrastructure and housing. But it's a very interesting point you raise. I don't think there's a cookie, but it's certainly something that I guess helps us in those conversations to know that we're a good partner, but nothing concrete.
I'm a big cookie fan, so I love those incentives. Just want to talk about the balance, the diversity for long-term housing here, and there's only 14% of completions that are strata owner occupied. And so, truthfully, we know that we've put a huge emphasis on rental at the expense, I think, of strata and ownership. And I'm just wondering how we plan to achieve that balance again.
That's a really good question, and I think the issue around strata, it's a larger economic issue that we're not facing alone. It's a nationwide issue right now in terms of strata, with the construction costs going up and the incomes not keeping pace with what's being asked in terms of the costs, as well as I think thinking from the past around the model of what was being delivered. So a lot of the units were targeted to a pre-sale kind of audience, and that is that's changed. So I think part of it is a recalibration and expectations from all sides, including the banking expectations around needing those pre-sale units as a way to finance projects. So there needs to be some kind of, I think, recalibration there. We do know that overall, like, the feds have decreased interest rates, so that's come down. If the federal budget gets approved, they do have the announcement that they made in the budget for a $7 billion tax incentive, GST waiver for first-time homeowners. So there's that. In terms of the city's role, while we're seeing that dip, we are going to be again bringing this development viability report in December, which will have a bunch of initiatives that are really going to try to help projects in the interim, as well as multiplex. Just one last thing about multiplex: while we're seeing the decrease in the stratas, we are seeing an increase in multiplex. So we will be seeing an increase in the ownership of that unit type, and a lot of that has that diversity that you spoke about, and others at council spoke about the 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the banking. Josh, do you want to add something? I saw you.
Yeah, you noticed my body language there. I just to pick up on the lower scale development as well, with the opportunity for ownership in addition to rental. A lot of the big challenge is with financing and pre-sale, and that larger scale high-rise tower is difficult to finance right now. So I think we're hearing a lot of developers wanting to pivot to smaller projects. So not only multiplex, but providing that low-rise apartment form as well in more parts of the city, straight to development permit, easier to finance, quicker to market, also presents another opportunity for us to boost ownership supply as well.
We got about 40 seconds left. I have, on this journey of learning more about development, have heard that the pre-sale paradigm has made it really hard to build larger family-sized units. Councillor Kirby-Young mentioned that. It seems to me that governments have a role to play, perhaps, and I know Edna mentioned a little bit about the banking side of things, but do we foresee any ways of that financing piece kind of evolving?
I sure hope so. This is a multi-jurisdictional effort. There are kind of monetary and fiscal tools that other orders of governments can pull that aid the banking sector to lend in a way that kind of adapts to our new market reality. And I think that needs to be part of our advocacy effort.
We're at time.
Great answers. Thank you.
Councillor Meisner?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, staff, for the update. It's great to see the progress that we're making. And just had a couple questions. I was wondering on page 15, the construction cost index, Councillor Joe kind of started to touch on it, but I noticed that low-rise apartment building costs have risen faster than high-rise, and I'm just wondering why. That's surprising to me because feel like we hear that high rises are, more expensive to build versus wood frame. And I'm not sure if I'm interpreting that graph correctly or if I just love more context. Page 15 on construction costs.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, but we can get that to you later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know because, in terms of the land use decisions that we're making around villages and low rise versus high rise, I think that's important information. If in fact the low rise construction costs are going up higher than the high rise ones, so I'd really appreciate that information back. Thank you for that. My other question was around Sanok, and I can't remember how many units are completing there. I believe this fall, is it over 1,000?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't count towards our target, correct?
That's right, yes.
Okay, okay. Well, it's great news because we'll have additional rental units, but I just wanted to confirm that. That's it for me, but thanks for the update. And again, just really great to see this progress. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Orr.
Yeah, I was wondering if Armin wanted to answer Councillor Maloney's question there. No problem.
Thank you for the chance. I think the question was, what are we doing with senior levels of government to add? What can we do to help to create more advocacy? Yeah. Well, I hope our provincial partners are listening. We've actually had some really good progress over the last number of years. So last year, we actually got a carve out from the provincial government without actually having to apply for any funding for 500 community housing fund units. And we actually were the recipient of the same amount this year. They understand that the city actually provides a tremendous amount of progress when it comes to actually investing their dollars into the city, because we come in with land, we come in with concessions, we come in working with planning on all of the concessions that we actually can bring to projects to enhance their affordability, because it becomes cheaper for the government to do that, the provincial governments to do that. I think the advocacy on your part, I think you're doing a great job, all of you, for the most part. But I think that advocacy is something that I think you're all going to have to keep continuing to do. Yeah.
Thank you. And then supportive rental units. So we are what is the progress on there? So we need to create 583 new units to meet our target. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the target that they set for us. It's not a target, it's a guideline, but yes.
Yeah. And where are we at there? Are we?
We've completed 20 units.
20 units.
Just 20 units,
out of 583. Yeah. What's the timeline? So for until 2028? Is that correct?
Till 2028. So right now in the pipeline, we have about 450 supportive housing units in the pipeline. About 250 of those are under construction, and the rest are in different parts of the application process.
Sorry, what was that? How many are in construction?
250.
Okay, so
yeah.
we're well on our way, sort of, to meeting that. And is that forgive the ignorance, is that net? Do we take in consideration any supportive housing units? Okay, that is okay. Net.
It's a net number. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that is the end of the questions. Now, as per section 5.16 of the procedure bylaw, no vote is necessary as the item was intended, I'm talk here. The item is intended for information only. So once again, thank you so much for the incredibly hard work, and thank you for the update. Appreciate it. Oh, we need a motion to adjourn. Okay, I think that was Councillor Kirby Young, seconded by Councillor Meisner. All those in favor say yay. All those opposed say nay. Great, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.